Hello again, I am Blunty. A few days ago, I saw Dauntless pop up on Steam, which was a bit of a surprise. Frankly, I kinda thought the game was basically dead by now. It hadn't hit my radar for quite some time. And when I checked while thinking about making this video, I found out it hasn't had a content update or so much as a patch since late 2023. But as it turns out, it was just resting, pining for the fjords. It was stunned. And for those of you laughing at that reference, how's your knees? But Dauntless is about to get an update, a major new update, a significant overhaul to the systems, and a bunch of new content to boot. And it's all pretty interesting for people waiting on Monster Hunter Wilds to drop in February. Because if you like, or are newly interested in Monster Hunter, Dauntless is something you should at least take a look at. And it's extra easy to give it a go, because it is free to play. And I know those words hit a panic button in the brains of some people, but don't tune out just yet. It will be very interesting if this, the first major update Dauntless has had in nearly a couple of years, and its move to Steam, and probably a few content creators doing like I am right now, and using the hype train for Monster Hunter Wilds to also bring a little extra attention to Dauntless, and personally for it to fill a little gamer time for ourselves, will revitalize the player base and bring a noticeable amount of new players in, and how long they stick around. I'm guessing anyone who does stick around will probably not stick around past February because, well, Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, that free-to-play stuff. And at least the last time I was playing it regularly, it was a very rare gem of free-to-play games in that its monetization was unusually, what's the best way to put this? Unusually not shitty abusive horse cancer, as is so often the case with free-to-play games. In fact, I used to praise it fairly regularly as a golden standard for free-to-play monetization, and I used it as a comparison point for other games' monetization schemes when I talked about them in videos. I did take a brief poke around the current state of things while recording some fresh gameplay for this video, and it's gotten a bit worse on that score. It's not quite as friendly as it used to be. It's a bit more aggressive and teetering on sleazy, but by comparison, it's still not bad, compared to the rest of the industry at large. And to be clear, I don't really know what the new overhaul will do to that balance, because there are changes coming to how you obtain weapons. You used to craft them, much like Monster Hunter, out of monster bits, but apparently they're streamlining that, and now you obtain sort of preset weapons with special abilities on them, and that kind of leaves the door open to pay to win if they start putting those in a cash shop or something. But I saw some people worrying about that in the existing Dauntless community, and the devs seem to offer vague reassurances that it'll be fine, but shrug, we'll really have to wait and see on that one. On the topic of wait and see, there's no date listed yet for the Steam store release, but it's probably pretty soon, because it seems the current in-game season is coming to a close on December the 7th. So one would imagine the devs, Phoenix Labs, are probably aiming to go live alongside the start of a new season to give new and returning players the best experience. Now, elephant in the room. There are very few ways to talk about Dauntless without comparisons and ongoing constant comparisons to Monster Hunter. It's not always completely useful to make those comparisons because in quite a lot of ways they are very different animals and you kind of approach them differently, not least of which because Dauntless is a free-to-play, essentially live service game, but it is also, of course, completely practical. Dauntless is directly inspired by Monster Hunter. There's no secret of that from the devs. They've spoken about it in the earlier days. Heck, it even has a controller layout option, called the Hunter option if I remember correctly, that more closely replicates Monster Hunter's default control scheme, making it easier for Monster Hunter players to moonlight over here on Dauntless without getting annoyed at the control scheme, not meshing with their muscle memory. Speaking personally, I was actually a Dauntless player before I was a Monster Hunter addict. Did I say addict? I meant player. Actually, no, it says addict. I was playing Dauntless back when it was still in beta testing more than 6.5 years ago, starting around May 2018, which in fact was before Monster Hunter World even launched on PC. The super clean and vividly colourful stylized art style reminds many people of Fortnite, which continually bugs me to hell and back, frankly. Anytime someone sees an art style like this and says, oh, that's Fortnite art style. Do you kids know? Do you infants know? Fortnite did not invent this kind of stylized art style, right? It's not the Fortnite art style. Fortnite just uses it, and you recognize it because Fortnite is one of the most high-profile things that use it. But aside from that, if the general vibe of the characters and the armor designs in particular feel familiar to you, well, that's because the art director for Dauntless was Katie DeSalza, whose name you might not immediately know off the top of your head if you're not sort of an art dork, but I bet you know her work, because she was the person behind the original character concept art of Jinx. Well, actually, one of two people. Someone else did the weapon stuff, but, you know. And now that I've told you that, you can see it real clearly, can't you? In any case, compared to Monster Hunter itself, it does have a very clear identity of its own, both visually and in the gameplay. The core is the same. It's a game where hunters, or in this case, slayers, take on huge boss-style monsters, or in this case, behemoths. You doink them, you use their parts to craft and upgrade your gear so you can take on ever more powerful behemoths. And as a matter of fact, some of the systems in Dauntless have started to bleed into Monster Hunter, especially in Wilds. There are several things that Dauntless has been doing for some time now that are now new and evolved concepts in Monster Hunter Wilds, interestingly enough. Another link between the two, you know how Monster Hunter Wilds is getting that weapon swap mechanic? Well, Dauntless's new update is getting that too. I'm not sure who thought of it first or if it's just a weird coincidence, but yeah, in the in the new big update, you'll be able to swap weapons on the fly in the field. But while Dauntless also relies on skill progression, weapon and armor set building, and management of items and whatnot, it does feel different to Monster Hunter in a few ways. It's got a little different flow to it in how you engage with the fight. It's not drastically different, but it is legitimately its own thing, not just a knockoff clone. The Dauntless weapons aren't just copycats of Monster Hunters either. Some feel familiar, like Dauntless's axe, for example, feeling kind of like the Great Sword and how it flows and moves and has charge moves and things like that. But there's other weapons with no clean parallel in Monster Hunter at all, and the behemoths themselves are also quite unique and distinct in action and look and sound. So calling Dauntless a free-to-play copycat of Monster Hunter does both games a disservice, in my opinion. There's plenty of room for both. The incoming game overhaul, which they're calling Dauntless Awakening, which kind of reminds me of New World's recent rebrand and soft relaunch, and how deep it cuts into the base system. There's a lot changing with how questing and progression work, and how weapons are obtained, and how armor perks and skills work, and how the seasonal hunt pass works, and how loadouts work, and there's new behemoths and new elemental statuses being added. I'm not going to actually detail all the changes, because frankly, I don't yet fully understand all of them, I don't think, and my memory of how things work as they stand is a little rusty, and my memories include 2 other overhauls to some of these systems, and I've been away from the game for a couple of years, so who knows what else I've kind of forgotten or confused over the years. So the overhaul is actually a soft, fresh start chance for me too to return to it, at least for a while. Say until February. It's a pretty different beast now than it was back in those early beta days and through the 1.0 launch and whatnot, where I spent hundreds of hours. And besides, I'm hoping to get some new eyes on the game with this video. I'm not making this for the existing players or even recently lapsed players, really. So detailing what's changing doesn't have much meaningful context for a new player or someone who hasn't played since original launch hype. And they're fully retiring some of the major systems that were introduced in the most recent significant overhaul, like weapon reforging. Apparently that's just completely being deleted from the game, which is good because I never did like that system. Suffice to say, there's a new onboarding, there's new streamlining of the quests and progression systems that should make it easier than ever to get rolling. The main quest line has been redesigned to better serve as an immersive tutorial for the game's systems, and in particular the new systems, which is why even returning players are going to be prompted to play through it. It's Steam Arrival, where once on PC it was chained to the Epic Store only. Well, actually, if we're being technically correct, back when it was in beta, it had its own dedicated launcher, but when it launched properly, it went to the Epic Store. But yeah, coming to Steam opens up not just a lot more visibility for PC gamer eyes, because of course Steam is way more popular than Epic, and let's face it, most of us don't use Epic unless we really have to, and even then there's plenty of people out there who very angrily refuse to even install the Epic client because of some sort of principle or whatever. I don't really get that. It's just another store. Why are you so mad about it? But whatever. Gamers can get weirdly tribal and territorial about launches and storefronts and all kinds of weird shit. I don't mind the Epic launcher. It's fine, but I do vastly prefer Steam all the same. But the other things a Steam option gives Dauntless players is just much less friction overall, including an easier time running it on the Steam Deck, which is possible now, like many other Epic Store games, but there's a lot of hoops to jump through. It's awkward and clunky and whatnot, but Steam will make that process a lot easier. And hey, if you're an achievement hunter, there's that too, because, well, Steam has those and Epic doesn't. And the game does have a full system of achievements and trophies and whatnot, because it does exist on the consoles. But I do encourage you to at least plop it on your wish list over on Steam and keep an eye on it if you're a PC gamer, or indeed, if you are a console player. It is also on the Xbox Series S and X and PS4 and PS5 and Nintendo Switch. So if you're on consoles, maybe wait for the big update and dive in then. And yes, it is cross-platform play. You can play with whoever you like, no matter what platform they are on, and it's cross-save, so you can spend your time between your PC and your Switch and your PlayStation, whatever. It's really seamless. In fact, it was one of the earliest games that I played that was utterly seamless in this way. You can literally shut down one version of the game, boot up the other one, and instantly continue on like nothing had happened. At the very least, it could be some fun times for a couple of months before we get Monster Hunter Wilds landing and that takes over your life completely, or is that just me? Because frankly, if you don't play Dauntless now, if you don't give it a go now, or at least, you know, when the update hits in something December, I don't think you'll be choosing it once Wilds lands. I mean, it's good, it's worth giving a go, but Monster Hunter is better, you know? It just is. But hey, you never know. Maybe you'll really like it, and you can come back to it in between Monster Hunter games, you know, after you've burned through, Wild's launch content and are taking a break from it before its inevitable Master Rank expansion launches or something, or even just between, regular content updates to the base one. And, it never hurts to have more games you enjoy playing to choose from. All I'm saying is, give it a go. It might surprise you. I'm certainly coming back to it myself for a while to check it out again. Curious about this overhaul, and I need something to do while waiting for Wilds. I spent many hundreds of hours with it back in the day. I had a lot of fun, and there's tons of content to idly grind through in an evening as I wind down for the day. Got some cartoons on the second screen and just tooling around in Dauntless for a few hours. Half a decade ago, Dauntless spent a lot of time as sort of my tick along background game that I was playing while I wasn't playing anything else. You know what I mean? It's just a little low-key monster basher ticking along in the background, and it's obviously doing well enough still for the devs to put in time and effort for an update this big. So I suppose thank you to the microtransaction whales for keeping the game alive enough and keeping the devs, paid and fed. Hey, whales, can I have some money too? I'll draw you a picture of a sword. Yeah, thanks for watching. I am Blunty. Thank you as always to the patrons, and I will catch you next time. Let me know if you're going to give it a go.